Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd.
Hey everyone, thanks for being tuned in to KPOV 88.9 FM, your high desert community radio in Bend, Oregon. I hope you're having a good day. This is Stacey Dredd, Galactic Ambassador in the Cosmic Community, our astrology program here on KPOV Tuesdays 4:30 to 5 p.m., where we dive into the week's planetary and lunar influences, and we explore how these energies may be felt and worked with, and how we may be able to work within these cycles to be in more harmony with the universe and create a more benevolent life for all. Thank you so much for making time and space in your day today to receive this message, or by accessing the archive anytime in the future. If you need to re-listen to this program later in the week, take a few more notes, recheck in on some energies, you can do that at kpov.org/the cosmic community. My show, or my previous show, is there all week, so you can catch that at kpov.org. Today, I'm going to be chatting about this week's planetary and lunar movements. Probably dive into just a little recap from the last weekend, since we're still creating intentions around this new moon in Libra we just had on Sunday. And then I'm going to move into the October monthly breakdown. And that's the month in terms of the astrology, give you key points and days, and some details about those points and days so that you can work with that in the way that you would like to. So I've had so much amazing feedback on the show recently. Gosh, it just feels like KPOV and all the DJs and the station is like all of a sudden back together again. And we've actually got a whole batch of new DJs and just people who have gotten involved with KPOV over the last couple of years, when we've all been shut into our houses and not able to meet each other. Well, just recently we had just over the weekend, KPOV supporting the Bend Roots revival went really well. We brought the live broadcast on Saturday and Sunday, and there was just KPOV people everywhere and everybody wanting to be involved, and it was really, really great to see some old faces and also kind of get to know some new people. But I am just like so floored at the feedback I've been receiving from this show. So I'm just so glad that you're connecting with it and you're able to use this information for your greatest good. So just kind of recapping, Galactic Ambassador, I'm back from my super intergalactic convention over the weekend. And I say that because this Libra new moon that we had at 3 degrees, 2 degrees of Libra is considered the super galactic center. And so this is a point in time when we could be really tuned in to some of these intergalactic, super galactic energies and messages that are coming through. And so, that was my new moon. Spent a lot of it being pretty quiet on Sunday. I was very active with the Bend Roots revival on Saturday, and then Sunday felt very much like a day to get grounded, stay grounded, and just kind of be open to whatever is coming through. A new moon is a great time to just be still and to, it's the first, it's the beginning of a new lunar cycle, the new moon. And so it's like a new beginning. Every month we get to have the new moon and a new beginning and intentions surrounding that. So if you didn't have an opportunity to do any kind of like new mooning yet this weekend, it's okay. We are still well within the window you can access these super galactic energies still and create some new intentions for yourself around the new moon. Libra is the sign of relationships. So if our relationships seem to be highlighted, that's very much being supported by the universe here. We had last week on the 22nd, the fall equinox in the Northern Hemisphere, and that marks the beginning of fall, a change in seasons, and the new moon came just a few days after that. And so this next month too, we are having that Scorpio new moon right after the beginnings of Scorpio season. So it's like, boom, we're in the energies, and then you get to right off the bat make some new intentions around it. So there could be, just some power issues in relationships, very necessary to have challenges, and communicate about, who holds what power in relationships, or should people hold which powers in relationships, or, what makes you, what's more benevolent for you in your life. These are not just personal relationships, could be business relationships. These could be relationships that we have with different parts of our own life, our own relationship with our spirit or our soul. And so we can dive into these relationship themes when Libra is hot on the ticket. And so we are very much in this rebalancing phase. Libra is represented by the scales of justice. During Libra season, the astrologers say that Librans can tend to be a bit indecisive. So we can go, this way, that way, this way, that way, this way, that way. But, that's the balancing of the scales that Libra really likes to do. Libra also represents just justice, fairness, and equality, really. And so, there's all these themes about how we make relationships equal amounts, so that, within these relationships, everybody is getting what they need out of that. And so just really having these conversations with ourselves or with this other part of our relationship, very well could be things in a romantic relationship, we are kind of having to slow down a little bit right now to have a few more of these conversations to kind of refix, rebalance, recenter, so that we can move forward in sort of a more fair, equal way. So that's kind of the recap on last week. Again, like you could still totally touch into those new moon energies anytime. And so moving on into this next week, really, we have a few events going on. Just one, though, in a couple of days here in the last bit of September to kind of look at. And that's Wednesday and Thursday of this week. On September 28th and 29th. And the 28th is highlighted for me because we are going to be having an opposition between Mercury and Neptune. Mercury is slowing down right now and is about to be stationing direct on Sunday. And so Mercury already made one pass through the end of Virgo, stopped at 5 degrees of Libra, turned back around and has grinded his way all the way back to, will grind his way all the way back to Virgo, 24 degrees of Virgo by Sunday. But in the middle of that, going to be making an opposition to a retrograded also Neptune. And so Mercury is the planet of communication, the planet of the way that we thinking, transportation also, moving about, sort of neurons, moving back and forth, the thought process. And Mercury is retrograde right now, going to be grinding to a stop on Sunday. So in this opposition with Neptune, really having a time, is moving very slowly and having this chance to look straight over at retrograded Neptune and say, well, what are you working on over there? What are we, we're kind of just staring at each other. So we might as well chat this out a little bit too. Neptune's in retrograde in Pisces right now. Pisces is a very emotional sign. This is also a beautiful deep dive into mystical realms within the realms of Pisces. And Neptune is very much an exclamation point on that. Neptune is the representation of the collective unconscious. Also represents unconditional love. And so Mercury right now and Neptune both in retrograde, maybe not at their tip top as far as forward moving energies go, but they're in their tip top shape for thinking and rehashing and rebalancing and restructuring things in their world. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, all over my clocks. Thanks for being tuned in to KPOV. This is Stacey Dredd, Galactic Ambassador in the cosmic community. We are exploring the astrological influences, and just at times I may, little bits of advice, may come through in the form of what sounds like advice, but really it's just my own mind working on all of this stuff too. So, always feel into this information and feel into these energies for yourself too. We also all carry with us a unique astrological birth chart. And so you can actually dive into that and explore where these energies may be showing up in your personal life even more with your own astrological birth chart. So I just mentioned that Mercury opposition to Neptune. This is actually a third pass that we've made having this opposition. So this conversation, whatever is happening, this conversation is about, it's not new, and it's something we've been talking about for a while. On September 29th, we have Venus, the planet of love, the planet of trust, the planet of money, the planet of beauty and art, the planet of pleasures and creature comforts. Venus is moving into her home sign of Libra on the 29th of September. And this is like a big breath of fresh air for Venus, because Virgo has been a tough place for her. Virgo is not necessarily a place where she's like in her total detriment, but she tends to be a little nitpicky there and just really kind of a little too much. That perfectionist Virgo energy comes out a little too much when Venus is hanging out there, and she's been there for a few weeks. She's been, going through all of this kind of tough stuff, like thinking about everything too much, I guess is the way that I could say that. But Libra literally is fresh air, is an air sign. And so she can breathe a little deeper here. She's much more relaxed here. And as I mentioned, Libra is the sign of balance. And so we are going to be working as Venus is in Libra to bring more balance to those Venus themes in our life. And now that really, that ends September. We end September with a new moon in Libra, the shift into Libra season, and Venus entering Libra. Mercury will be right back soon also. And so the Libra energy is building. We are certainly in the month of October going to be diving more deeply into these themes and balancing out whatever it is, in the Libra Libra realms of our life that we need to take care of. How do we find more balance in our relationships? How do we balance out the different relationships we have with ourself, our physical relationship with ourself, our spiritual relationship, our intellectual relationship? It all needs to be balanced out as well. So that's certainly going to be themes in October moving forward. And the first day to mention in October is the 2nd. It's a Sunday, and that is the day that Mercury is stationing direct at 24 degrees of Virgo. We just were talking about that, and we've been all over Mercury retrograde for the last couple weeks. So if you want to do more in this Mercury retrograde, the last week that you have with this, the last few days, go back, listen to a couple programs ago. That's really when we're setting in heavy with Mercury retrograde. But, we are definitely going to be rehashing more of these themes from 24 degrees of Virgo on up until 5 degrees of Libra on the 14th of October, when Mercury finally leaves his shadow. I just want to make sure I said that right. 24 of Virgo. And then on October 14th, we got 5 degrees of Libra. Mercury's at 5 degrees of Libra and leaves his shadow. Then we start working on new material. So Mercury stationing direct, if you feel like things have been moving really slowly, like thoughts just haven't been able to be formed as quickly as you want, there's just been a lot of I want to say riffraff energy, like making you turn around a lot and go back because you forgot stuff at home or redoing things. That is definitely, hopefully, going to be taking a little turn here. Because this on October 8th, we also have Pluto stationing direct. Pluto went retrograde on April 29th. And now, finally, on October 8th, that's a long retrograde, we have been working within the realms of the deep, dark places of the underground, the underworld. That's what Pluto represents, the death and rebirth cycle. This is where something over the last 6 months has really, really been put to death. We've noticed that there's just these themes in our life that we really need to make changes to, that maybe the things that were bringing us pleasure before just aren't really doing it anymore. So we find that over the last 6 months, our heart has really changed in regards to something. Our mind has just been totally changed in regards to something. And it might be like something you never thought you'd change your mind on. You never thought that you might be thinking a different way, could never imagine your life without this one thing or whatever it is in your life. Well, Pluto can represent kind of obsession energy too, so we can put to death a little bit of these obsessive energies that we've had, maybe regarding something that hasn't been very good for us, or something that has needed to really be started back at square one and then rebuilt all the way up. We don't always need to burn the whole house down. Sometimes you just need to take the walls off and put in some more insulation, and you work with the bones that you already have. And so somewhere in that is the message for Pluto retrograde, and Pluto is stationing direct on October 8th at 26 degrees of Capricorn. And this is going to be some of the last times of Pluto in Capricorn. It has been a grind. It has been, Capricorn represents actually the skeletal systems and the foundations, the foundational structures, of physical things, of emotional things. And so, we've been going through some kind of deep overhaul over the last 6 months with this Pluto retrograde, and maybe things are going to start coming together here finally in October, November, December. Once Pluto starts moving forward and finally moves out of his shadow, we'll be able to, really move forward on something. And that brings us to the full moon in Aries on October 9th. This full moon in Aries is at 16 degrees. And I'm actually going to pull up the chart for this one. So October 9th, 2022. And we're moving into everybody I feel like loves October and Halloween and stuff. And this part of the year is always so fun to talk about full moons in October. So we get this really intense full moon in Aries at 16 degrees on October 9th. And this is where Aries being the first sign of the zodiac, we made a lot of decisions back on that full moon in Pisces a month ago. That was like some really big themes, and Pisces represents closure. And so maybe we've really been able to, by this time, in the middle of October, made some good headway, closing some doors and moving forward on some things. And then at this full moon in Aries, we get to have the great expression of our restart. Aries being the great restart button, the first sign of the zodiac, represents birth, infancy. So, something that is very, very quietly beginning. This isn't the loud, crying baby. This is like a slumbering, this is like the beginning slumbers, almost like the caterpillar still crawling into the chrysalis, and it's still all in there. That's what we're talking about, that chrysalis phase almost. So this full moon in Aries gives us an opportunity to go into our chrysalis and decide what it is that we're going to do next. This full moon in Aries on October 9th does have some pretty tight connections with Venus and Chiron. Venus is just going to be a few degrees away from the sun, so we are going to be feeling these Venus themes, expressing, not being afraid to express the love that we feel, not being afraid to trust. And then we also have the moon with Chiron, which is the great wounded healer. So there's going to be some major healings around this Aries full moon. And really, that takes us into the last week of October. We have a new moon in Scorpio on October 25th, and that's at 2 degrees of Scorpio. And that is going to be our first eclipse of this upcoming eclipse season. That's right. The eclipses are coming. And the eclipse at 2 degrees of Scorpio on the new moon on October 25th is going to be another deep opportunity. As I was just mentioning, Pluto, some of these themes are going to be coming to light, what this Pluto retrograde's been about. And Pluto represents Scorpio, rules the sign of Scorpio. And so we will be definitely seeing some phoenixes rising from the ashes by the end of October. And then we have Mars stationing to go retrograde on October 30th. That is definitely one that we are all going to be looking out for. Mars is going to be retrograding in the sign of Gemini and stationing retrograde at 26 degrees of Gemini on October 30th. So I will be there for you to talk you through all of that in the end of October. But I do wish you a really good week this week with your breath of fresh air as Venus enters Libra and Mercury stationing direct and really letting us move forward a little bit here. Thank you so much for listening to the Cosmic Community. Stacey Dredd. Talk to you next week. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.